into the nitty-gritty behind monsters from different lore. However, there is a general focus on D&D.
We are players and DMs, so we draw from our experience with different tabletop RPGs, and we tend to go off on tangents every so often.
If you're looking for facts and historical value, this may not be the podcast for you. But if you love discussing monsters and all of their potential, just for fun, then we got you covered.
Adult content warning, and with all that out of the way, my name is Dylan, and I'm joined once again by my two brave monster hunters.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Melina.
And this is Mornings with Monsters.
All right, guys, so this week we are going to talk about slimes, oozes, and gelatinous cubes.
Don't forget puddings.
Puddings, too.
How weird. What a weird name for an entity.
Yeah.
There's so many versions of this entity.
Is this the first one that we've done that doesn't typically talk?
Yes.
Does it ever talk?
No, but it depends on what source material. But a typical, like your standard...
Run of the mill.
Yeah, no.
Never. They don't even have, no intelligence there.
Nah, just made of,
gooey stuff.
Passes. Goo.
Yeah. Yep.
So this is a hard one to talk about because
it is.
There is not really a specific origin. I don't think there's no cultural system. There's.
I actually read the article I got from made kind of a joke, but it makes sense if you think about it. That the founders of D&D might have seen The Blob.
Sure, yeah.
And I mean, and it would make sense because anybody who's familiar with that movie will instantly understand why we talk about gelatinous cubes in a synonymous way, as it just fed and consumed and grew and traveled for more food.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love the ooze, the slime. All of them. I love them so much.
It's just such a campy monster type, it's cheesy but also intimidating,
Heck yeah. How do you fight one? You don't. I mean, with magic, the commoner.
Some magic, but yeah.
Your level 1 farmer, they're doomed.
And I mean, that's even if they have the time to see the ooze and slime, because unless you're an adventurer who, I would have to say you'd have to be a little seasoned to run across one in an adventure. You might not know that clogged drain or the oil slick puddle in the basement, or the creepy green mold stuff that grows in the corner of that weird dank room in the corner of the house. You might not know that is just an all-consuming mindless hunger pit.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as where you can run into them, they thrive everywhere essentially. They're good in the dark, they're good in the light. They don't shy away from any kind of temperature. I mean,
nope.
You probably wouldn't find one in winter mountains, I would say. But even then,
maybe
there's
not
probably some.
And maybe not a barren desert without a city established,
Yeah, no city, not a lot of water-based stuff, right? But even then, there's probably the rare occasion where you might find one.
Right. Finding one adapting to that kind of a surrounding would be terrifying too, because that's an extreme, that would be horrifying.
Yeah. Now I want to reflavor some puddings and put them in the desert, because it would be scary as hell.
Yeah, it would.
Nowhere to go, being chased by giant blobs of matter. Oh my goodness.
You and your party are in your third day without seeing water, and you think you see a puddle in the foreground and you run toward it. It's not a mirage. There is
Oh
liquid
my
on the
goodness.
sand.
The mirage mimic of the
That would be,
ooze.
yeah, that would be
Oh,
so dope. A mirage ooze.
that is terrifying. That is a terrifying thought.
Sand pudding,
Absolutely.
anyone?
Sand pudding.
Yes.
Ooh, we're on to
Ugh,
something
that's
here.
exactly what I think of.
So, did you guys um, in your research really find any difference between the slime, the ooze, the pudding, the gelatinous cube?
I mean, minus like some very specific uh, actions or skills, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Not really. And I think those like specific actions or skills are really highly dependent on the surrounding, I would say.
yeah. I agree. I mean, even like the way they're described is pretty much the same. Like some of them are more like translucent, and
Yeah.
that is typically the one I think of is like the ones you can kind of see through. But then
Hmm.
there's like the thicker ones, the more like oil slick looking ones that like are more like of they give me more of a corruption feel, you know,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
you
I
might
mean,
find
that
at
could
like a tar pit or something.
Right.
yeah, due to their environment. Like they've
Yeah,
taken on that darker, mysterious, gross,
yeah.
sordid
So I mean,
type.
other than that though, like we're dealing with a pretty standard monster here. It's a little bit hard to talk about because we don't have that long storied history or
Yeah.
I think there is a god of the oozes in D&D, I
Oh,
believe. So
like other than the Pudding King?
yeah, maybe it might be the same one. Also, Pudding
Okay.
King is an awesome thing. That
Yeah.
just sounds
Hmm.
super cool. But I don't know about the Pudding King. But no, I was like reading lists of you know gods and stuff recently in D&D, and there was one that is in charge of the oozes because there's one that's in charge of everything. But like, I don't, I don't think that there's like an ooze church, Church of the
Yeah, I don't
Slimes or
think,
something.
no.
I think they're just doing what they're doing, and there's someone up there that's like rooting for them. But
And like that kind of makes sense because like the god of chaos is Lolth, and she really does embody that. And so maybe like a god of the ooze is just like hunger incarnate, like
That could
uh
yeah,
absolutely
oh
be.
yeah, that actually tracks really. I mean, what's that? Sin? What's the sin? Gluttony.
gluttony. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
So
that
kind
could
of like
absolutely.
a god of gluttony.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept, like
Maybe
gluttony incarnate. Yeah,
maybe his form is like the expanse of the universe,
yeah. Ooh,
because like it would just be slowly like eking out,
creeping. Yeah,
you know what I mean? But in all directions at the same time, and just like all oozes are amorphous and fill their space that they're in. So
and oozes they do hunt, right? But I
yeah,
feel like some versions of the ooze, and maybe not just specific to D&D, but like they don't even necessarily know that they like I kind of picture them
They're
as something that's maybe sentient, but like they probably don't see or smell or hear. Like I that's how I picture them.
yeah, I
Like
feel like they're like jelly
they
mold
see through
mold.
yeah,
vibration.
so they kind
Yeah,
of latch onto something, and once they know they're touching something, then they absorb it. Or they just
I
roll
mean,
roll through a group of adventurers, and oops, you're stuck in the
and they're like, oh wait, go back, put
yeah.
it in reverse.
Yeah, like the picture of the gelatinous cube is funny to me because it's just got like a sword and a skull kind of just chilling inside of it.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah,
I feel like classic picture has like 2 full ass skeletons.
Yeah, I think it does. And there's like I've seen a picture with just like a screaming dwarf, just like forever in stasis
Yes.
of it.
It's like
Like
rust.
that is cool, but also
I'm
terrifying.
I have like a running graveyard of like failed 3D prints that I've like for some reason or another I just didn't work enough to paint them. And I'm saving them because I would really like to make a large gelatinous cube statue
Yeah.
with my failed prints like inside and like
Ooh,
semi
that's
outside of
cool.
it.
That's
Yeah,
really
just
cool.
do some like semi-tinted poured
Yeah.
epoxy resin, and just kind of like buff it out until it's real shiny and oil slick, and then just paint anything that sticks out like whatever color
I
I
would
want, and then
I would love to see that. That is so
yeah,
cool.
it's one of those like, do I have enough people and like random objects and like
Sure,
body
yeah.
parts? You know what I mean? Like,
Paint a couple
can I start on this
shields, a
yet?
couple
Yeah,
bricks, just
maybe like
random
a
stuff.
table or a keg or something's thrown in there.
Oh, that's sweet. I
The
love
baby
that.
little.
Yeah, it's you see all those people making the really cool like dioramas of like deep sea scenes and
Yeah,
stuff like that, and the only thing that I've ever really like been like, yeah, let's pour a dangerous poisonous epoxy resin is for a gelatinous cube because I think it's very fitting,
that's a very cool idea.
So, have you guys had a lot of experience with gelatinous cubes in your gaming?
Kind of.
Specifically gelatinous cubes, no, but
Well, oozes or slimes, I mean.
yeah, I don't think I've ever fought a gelatinous cube in any way, but I've been fighting them slimes for a decade, like
Yeah.
I mean,
They're pretty prominent in WoW, right?
oh yeah, they're
Yeah.
they're all over. I've recently started playing again because we talked about it and it sparked up some.
Of course, I knew it was going to happen. I wasn't going to mention it, but I was like, well, we were talking about WoW a lot, and I'm pretty sure he's going to want to go back.
Yeah, I did, and it's cool. It's different now.
Yeah.
And
Are you playing vanilla or?
no, I'm playing
Okay.
the newest stuff because the vanilla's too much of a grind. But hey, man, there's a lot of oozes in there still. I was
Yeah.
fighting oozes in a tropical troll-filled island just the other day, and they had these
That's awesome.
faces too. I don't think they said
Ew.
anything, but like they were like the way they were animated was kind of like this shifting like translucent black orb that was kind of constantly falling in on itself, but it had this like dark shadow for a face that was kind of like munching down on you while you fought it.
That's
It was
pretty
like-
cool, actually.
And
Yeah.
it was in the black tar pits of like there was like giant skeletal T-Rexes, walking around and stuff. It was
Fuck
cool.
yeah.
Fighting them in the
That's-
bubbling pools of tar.
I think my favorite one that I've fought has been in Final Fantasy, and that's where I first saw like the Pudding King title,
Sure.
and they used it in a dungeon that was like once like a really big lab that had just gotten consumed by shit,
Yeah.
and so the Pudding King was a giant like turd.
It makes me think of like a Rat King,
Yeah,
but for oozes.
yeah, and it would absolutely be poop. It was hilarious.
Yeah, no, I love when people play around with the ooze idea, and there's some really awesome ones. One that I know you'll appreciate, Melina, that I didn't really think about until we were talking right now is kind of the sludge monster from Spirited Away, just like where you had to pull the bike out of it, and then it all kind of. It turned out it wasn't an ooze monster. Yeah, that one.
Would you guys consider Grimer and Muck from Pokemon ooze
Yeah.
monsters?
Of course, I would. Right? They're made of like sludge and stuff. I think they.
Yeah, and they're
they fall
highly
in.
toxic in the Pokédex.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna probably get some backlash because you can't assume things about Pokemon.
I know.
There's
gonna be like a ton of dudes older than us who are like, "Do you even play Pokemon, bro?"
Yeah. Yeah, actually, they don't fall under the pudding family. They're more of a toxic something. I don't know, but they can fit in our ooze family.
Yeah, I feel like that would be a pretty accurate description if we were doing a,
Yeah,
you know,
You're like
drawing a
slime.
line here. Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Have you guys ever heard of that time I got reincarnated as a slime anime?
I actually kind of loved the beginning of that.
I
I
love
I
that
love
show. I just
you
love it in
do?
general. Yeah.
Okay. I haven't watched it in a while, but like I watched the whole beginning of it and it's so fun and clever and just
Yeah.
like goofy, but
It's
it's so interesting.
yeah, I mean it's one of those like I die and wake up in a new fantasy world and then he wakes up as like this super overpowered slime and convinces this dragon that's trapped uh in like this thing to like he absorbs the dragon basically and takes on his powers and then absorbs all this magical ore that's in this rare cave and then he can literally absorb anything and then gain its powers and he just ends up creating a whole monster army but it's
Cool.
a really cool. I mean it's
Like
anime, it's got a lot of anime
Yeah.
tropes and stuff like that, but it's a fun way to play around with the slime.
I want to
yeah.
watch that. That sounds fun.
Yeah, it is. And I love the anime for the biggest reason I think is because it kind of gives the slime, um, it finally lets the slime get a win, because the
Hmm.
slime's always like if you don't think about it that much, you kind of just kill it and move on, or like
Yeah.
find the sewer that it's spawning them and take care of it.
Yeah,
But
and honestly, like you kind of want to, you know? I
yeah,
mean,
you do.
that's for the greater good of everyone.
But like
Yeah.
in this anime, it gives him the win, and you get to see like the potential for what a ooze can do. I think that one's a little over the top because he's like immediately overpowered and has every ability, but really cool. It's worth a watch
Yeah.
if you're into that
Very
kind of stuff.
We just
Um,
experienced a an ooze monster in our D&D campaign that I DM.
yeah,
yes.
Hmm.
That's actually the second um gelatinous creature I have fought.
Yeah.
Well, technically the first one we didn't fight. I should say encountered. Um
Hmm.
so I in our last campaign with that Alex did, yes, he uh that Alex runs, we encountered what I believe was a gelatinous cube.
Yeah,
Uh
pretty much. It wasn't a cube shape, but it was a
yeah,
gelatinous cube.
it was it was a gelatinous form.
Gelatinous cylinder.
It's gelatinous cylinder
Yeah.
clogging up some nice
cylinder.
fey fey waterways.
Yep.
Um
Ooh,
I was very cautious about it. My party members did decide to almost lose their magical weapons and just straight attack it, which as Melina I would have loved to just say, "Don't fucking do that." But
You
as
couldn't.
my my Ophi character Graylin, uh she just knew she didn't want to lose her shit.
Yeah.
Um or die. So it didn't
Yeah,
convince
you
me.
were the only one who really held back, weren't you?
Yeah, because I
Our
didn't.
paladin went straight on with their sword.
Yeah, I mean, I like to think that Graylin's more observant than just straight in for the attack of something she doesn't know.
Yeah.
yeah, that's weird because it's like I can't think the way some of these adventurers would be thinking,
Yeah.
but me as Dylan, the monster hunter level 1, I would not think smashing the giant blob with a blunt weapon would do anything.
Even a sharp weapon, in my opinion, I feel
Yeah,
like, you know, if you're fighting something that is a blob and you can't see a brain, a mouth, organs, or anything that would lead to like you thinking cleaving it in half would kill it,
yeah,
like
critical damage points or
you
something.
know, what's stopping a blob that can move on its own from getting cut in two and now being two blobs that can move on their own? and
Yeah.
nothing in this case, because that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, either that or you just straight up lose your stuff and hopefully you can get it out.
And yeah, because in D&D they have pretty strict penalties if you get your weapon stuck.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, D&D's always trying to steal your magical shit.
Yeah, you don't deserve it, damn it.
Yeah, you gotta balance it. Lose your magical stuff.
So my first encounter with a gelatinous cube was actually in a real dungeon. And when I say real dungeon, I mean like playing D&D, and we were in a dungeon crawl that was a literal dungeon and not just a house that we were like going through the maps.
Clearing out, yeah.
Yeah. So, we were like in a T-shaped hallway, and there was 2 doors on either end of like the top, you know, and then there's one down the center. And in one of the doors, we had engaged in combat with a beholder.
Oh.
Which are very powerful, and I think
Yeah.
we were like level 3.
Oh.
Shit.
We were losing. Our ranger
I bet.
decides to open the other door and then immediately close it because it contains a gelatinous cube. The ranger then proceeds to think, if I can get some of this gelatinous cube and shoot it at the beholder, and then we just close the door.
No.
We did that.
That's awesome. I remember because he shot an arrow with a little bit of the cube on it, right?
Yeah, he took like, I think he could do like 3 arrows at the time, like with a special something.
That is very creative. I would have let that happen too.
Yeah, that definitely fulfills Rule of Cool for me.
Yeah.
And this is in 1.5 edition, so I don't remember exactly the rules. Yeah,
Wow.
that's what I learned on.
1.5. Oof.
Yeah. It was very fun. It's actually probably the most similar to the 5e.
Oh, really?
I've heard that.
Than any of the other ones, just because of it's like the original rule set plus like a couple additions and tweaks that didn't make sense after, so they, put out like the advanced edition, which was 1.5. And it was a really fun way to learn, and it was an extremely creative solution to a beholder and a gelatinous cube, and then we just shut both doors and exited the dungeon.
How many
And
people
what a
were
good
in your party?
Oh, go ahead.
I believe we had there was I think 4 or 5 of us.
Yeah, so your DM's evil. I mean, throwing a
that's
beholder
fucked up.
5, even 5 through level 3 characters. You gotta kind of let your party get away with the creative solution.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's a good way to tell your party, like, yeah, there's going to be stuff you can't do if you meet it head on, but you can do anything in this game, if you can figure out a legitimate way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And like, he kind of had a similar thing to the Rule of Cool, where it's just like, as long as you can give me an explanation, and like I might make you do an extra roll for it, but if you can give me the numbers and the reasoning, then just do it. Then you can do it.
Except for summon steed, right? No reasoning with that spell.
It's true. I couldn't get my steed. He wouldn't let me have my steed. Like, like you can summon this, because once you get to whatever level it is as a paladin, you can summon a steed.
Yeah.
But like, he was like, no, you have to wait like 3 days. So like, finally, I convinced him to let me summon the steed, and then we never played again.
He just has something against magical horses.
Your horse is like trapped in the gateway between the astral and physical plane, and
never reaching his goal of summons.
Constantly galloping towards the sound.
It's how sad. This podcast is pro magic horses.
We are.
We're pro companions.
We're pro summoning.
Oh gosh, I might be less pro companions next
Okay.
next time. Everyone always wants a some kind of familiar or something.
You have to have the ability to control your own familiar to have
Yeah.
a familiar, I think.
Yeah,
I
think
think
so
so too, but I feel
Overall-
like the DM should also still voice anything but the, so.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, even if you have a
depending.
cat, the DM should be like, meow, right? Like,
I guess I've never really thought about that because like I've never made any sounds for Widdershins, but no, I have to. Oh no, I have. I made sounds of him like welching and stuff when he ate a heart.
yeah, because I
Yeah.
mean, in D&D, you get to control your character to its extent, right?
Yeah.
But unless like some kind of mind swap spell happens, you're only playing your character. So even if you're having a chat with your mom, the DM is your mom,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
That's why all of us DMs are crazy.
yeah,
Just
we're all insane.
so you know. Yep.
And
And some of our characters are also insane.
yes, I mean my character's fucking nuts.
I was just about to say Stampy is absolutely on the list.
he does not make the decision you would ever think he's gonna make, and
It literally baffles my character. Baffles him.
I mean, he baffled me as Melina.
probably baffle
Yeah.
the
Oh,
gods.
I'm pretty sure it's the only reason that your god hasn't fucking smited you yet.
Yeah, he's probably slowly turning into the god of chaos just because of my
It's 'cause he has you as a follower. Yeah.
Oh my lord. Nobody knows what we're talking about.
No.
Oh, we'll get into it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He'll pick up the pieces.
Yeah, if you
slowly.
guys really like this, we'll eventually make some deep dive campaign episodes or something where we talk about our campaign at length. But it's not over yet, so. Okay, so cool. We kind of talked about where we first saw them, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's Pokemon. If we're
Pokemon.
considering,
Honestly,
if we're considering it, yeah.
Same, I guess.
Yep, because I was so young and.
I'm trying to think of because I feel like I've always known what an ooze is. I mean, I don't want to just say World of Warcraft because I know obviously Pokemon came before then for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
the blob I think is everybody's for real, but
Yep. And I mean, I don't know, maybe if we also want to consider Flubber.
Flubber. Yeah,
that was
Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Yep, Ghostbusters. Oh yeah, Ghostbusters is actually a pretty solid one, even though he was like ectoplasm.
Yeah.
But
what is a slime? It's a same thing.
It's something
different name or whatever.
Yeah.
One other thing I was thinking about saying with your party, like when you're playing D&D and you're like, I want to kill this monster because it might have some cool loot. The thing about the slime is you can kind of just tell if you need to kill it or not, right? If you're not trying, you can just look inside to see if there's cool loot. You can just run around it. It can't move that fast.
That's true.
I will say, also because of that, which is also how we destroyed this, our slime Moonbeam is one of the most effective ways to destroy it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would say probably.
I mean, and if we're gonna go there, Moonbeam is an exceptional spell.
All around,
in general, yeah.
In general.
In general, it is almost annoyingly awesome.
I do like Moonbeam a lot. I feel
it's a great spell.
Can you cast it indoors? I know you can, but
you can, but you probably destroy stuff that's susceptible to radiant.
Yeah, I think it depends on the height.
We're usually in places that are only one level.
Yeah.
Or we're
so
outside.
Probably just go through the roof.
But every now and again, when we're in places that are,
I'm just thinking when you're in that underwater temple and you cast Moonbeam, you might open up a hole in the wall, right? And now water's flooding in, and
I think Moonbeam destroys surfaces though, like that.
Yeah, probably not.
No.
Never looked into that before.
I don't know. Moonbeam just seems like such a destructive thing.
If I were to see it,
you're like, oh, everything in that cylinder is gone.
Yeah, like you would see a flash of light and then you'd hear like whatever the fuck it just tore through.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, you know what I picture? You know the door in Harry Potter? The death door that's like in the
Yeah. The
Yeah, I
hollow.
picture like that, but like in a beam.
Okay.
I don't even know what that is, to be honest. I can't picture that.
In the
The death
like
door.
Order of the Phoenix
Okay.
when what's his butt dies.
I feel like it's a beam of radiant light falling, dealing
Described as like a
some kind of
ghostly-
transcendent some beam of energy. Yeah. No, I mean it's a cool spell. It'll mess up your slimes. Honorable mention to the One Piece slime too. That's like super late in the series where it's like it's
Also,
basically
like,
a ball
episode
of
2000?
poison. Not quite 2000. No, it's in the Punk Hazard arc, where they're like on this island that they've been using for testing chemical weapons of mass destruction, and it kind of all culminates into this like smiling giant poison jelly. So
Cool.
yeah, it is
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
And it just eats everybody up and turns them into like, it basically petrifies them as it goes through them rather than leaving them. Also, like, it's One Piece, so like you can, basically chisel them out of the stone and they're fine, kind of thing. So that's how their weapons of mass destruction work so far. I think that's how it is. But I think it's worth a mention because it's a cool poison version of the slime. Those slimes, they evil?
You'd have to have intent, right? To
Sure,
be evil.
I think so.
They're not sentient. They can't
Yeah.
be evil.
Yeah. I don't think that they have a decision to be like, oh, that's a baby. I can't eat that because it's a baby. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but it will eat the baby, right?
Yeah, but it's not eating the baby because like.
We'll also eat your shoes and
Yeah, it'll eat anything.
Your
like
dog and your grandma.
It can't see. It can't like.
Just an entity of like chaos in that sense.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have morality. It can't have morality. It was given it was like created or whatever the fuck, however it came about.
However, yeah.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with that god we were talking about, the lords of fucking hell or some shit.
Do you think it's a predator?
If you go off like the gluttony theory, it's like a predator in the sense that it just represents consumption. And
yeah, I would say it's like more of like a force. You know what I mean? Like how like wind happens and rain happens, like there is just like this force where a buildup of this shit happens, and then all of a sudden, like it consumes and consumes and consumes until it's taken care of, or you fall to it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the slime doesn't even have to eat, right? Do you think it has
like
to feed?
If it's not available, is that what you mean?
Yeah, like can it just sit around and do nothing?
I mean, in our campaign, our players entered into this room twice before actually like inspecting the well that was clogged, and the slime did nothing until it was disturbed. You know what I mean? And so like who knows how long it had been there?
Yeah.
They didn't do any research. They just fucking slaughtered the thing. So
yeah, I think it's the ultimate omnivore, right? I mean, it can eat anything.
Anything.
So
yeah.
I don't necessarily think it would seek out, sentient creatures or meat or anything.
I think only if it knew it was there, and by that it needs to be disturbed physically or with sound.
Yeah, if it has the ability to move around, like the one that we encountered was like in a place, and like once it was disrupted and out, like it engaged in the area it had. If a slime or an ooze or whatever is like in an open area, it's going to always like roam.
Yep.
So it's like a Roomba.
A
Yep.
Roomba. A
I
magic
would say
Roomba.
that like you said, if it has the space, it will move. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And probably, but because it's moving, it will consume things. But at the same time, like if a slime is moving and it falls into a hole that can contain it, and like,
Mm-hmm.
it
Climb the walls.
can't move. Yeah, like it can't move. I mean, the one you guys encountered could climb enough to get out, but I mean that's like you could argue that it was like capillary effect really. But
I mean, some of them can like, some of them obviously the cube is a little bit different, but it can like go under doors and like break its body into like a liquid almost, and
yep.
like there's a picture in the monster manual of it being the mortar between bricks.
Yeah. And that like that would be one of those options where yes, it can move, but it doesn't need to if
Yeah.
it's if
I
it's
think
somewhere where it can consume.
I think one of you said earlier a point that kind of made me think like, oh yeah, that's what slimes are, is a mold, right?
Yeah, that's what I was
Because
saying. Yep.
they thrive in certain environments and they attack certain things with it just moves around.
Yep.
It's not confined to being stuck to a wall or a surface. It's
Yep.
just it's gonna, if it touches something and it likes it, it's gonna
Attach and grow.
yeah.
And I think there's this weird new molds. I mean, and by new I mean like discovered sometime recently. I don't remember too much about it, but it was like yellow and it could like move itself, not grow,
Yeah.
but like if it was stretched out like this and it wanted to be over here, it would just like move.
That's terrifying. We
And
real life
yeah, and like
slimes.
some kind of intelligence in that like it has mobility. You know what I mean? And like yeah, that's what it makes me think of really is that you can't communicate with that. There's not going to be a way to even send electrical impulses that would get that thing to do or say or react any other way than, oh shit, there's food over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
I doubt like people even really control them. Like maybe having a tiny little gelatinous cube Roomba in your dungeon just to keep it clean. Like,
but how would you keep it small? Like, would you
that's a good point.
routinely like cull the size so that you could reduce it to where it's manageable, or
you every time it doubles in, you chop it in half and sell it to another wizard, right?
I mean, that would be actually what a cool wizard business, right?
The whiz biz.
Yeah.
If you're using it in villainous purposes, you can use it to like clear your last dungeon. I mean, like your last hideout of all of its organic matter.
All of
That's
it's
true.
every kind of matter, yeah.
Yeah, that's
loose.
true actually. And then I mean, you could just leave it there and pretty much be content that even if somebody does come looking for it, they're probably going to get trapped in the ooze,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if you need it again, you can just go back, cut some off, bring it to your new place.
It'd be like
That's
if you.
true.
I feel like if you just left a slime in a dank, deep, dark dungeon somewhere and it left it undisturbed for long enough, it would just fill up the entire dungeon.
Yeah.
Like encased in jello, basically.
I'm also curious, like when you cut a piece off and you want to transport it, like how exactly can you do that? Can you throw it into like a vial and it not consume the vial that it's in? Can you throw it in a bag of holding and not end up with like all of your stuff in there gone, but a giant fucking slime when you try to take it out?
Yeah, like I mean maybe a vial.
Because that's what I'm thinking. Like, would it once it touches the vial, would it start to gain size or whatever, and like start to encompass it,
condensate itself to the outside of it?
Yeah.
I bet you would have to have some kind of very specific magic glass or something.
Yeah, I could see that.
That would have to be it.
And that can't be penetrated.
Yeah, some kind of like, okay, this is my vial for slimes. I have some like protection spell where it's like there's an energy force inside the vial so that the ooze is not actually touching the vial. It's just being trapped in an energy force.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I mean, how you do that, I have no idea, but like,
Yep.
it would be interesting to see, like, I accidentally put a vial full of gelatinous cube in my bag of holding.
And now my whole bag of holdings in a gelatinous cube.
Yeah, where'd my gold go?
What if eventually it takes over the whole bag of holding too?
Right. I mean, and that's the thing, like, does a bag of holding spell contain a gelatinous cube?
Well, I mean, eventually there is a limit to what you can hold in a bag of holding. It has a set space. So.
Yep.
And I
But
believe
will
it
it
is
attempt?
I feel like you keep throwing shit in there to feed it, it will eventually be too big for the.
Yeah. And you think you have like 25 spaces available in your bag, and it's not only eaten all of your stuff that you already threw in, but it's taking up like 20 of those spaces. So
how mean would it be as a DM to give your party a bag of holding with a slime in it and they don't know? Like,
I was gonna say, like, just leave it in a dungeon. It's another party problem.
Did you investigate the bag? Because now
yeah, right, yeah. Now I'm gonna have to do that because I would be terrified of picking up a bag of holding. Yeah, that's a trap.
I know Olivia and Drew had some crazy bags of holding with so many opportunities to lose all of our stuff. We have the bear of holding.
I like the bear of holding a lot.
Bear of holding is cool.
We haven't used its skill, right?
No, I don't think so. It's like if it dies as a bear, all of your stuff is scattered into the one of the crazy realms.
It's like getting hit in Sonic, but on steroids, man.
See, I want to put something we need for the campaign in the bear of holding. Let the bear of holding die in a fight, and then force our DMs to let us go to another dimension to get this thing.
I'm down. You know what? Lauren is down.
Already going to be going to other dimensions, honestly.
Yeah, but we should fast track that though.
We've been fast tracking everything in there. We're like, hurry up! We want our boat.
I didn't do it on purpose because I didn't know much about Stampy when I designed Lauren, but I feel like I designed like the absolute worst character to combine with Stampy.
Oh yeah, you're fueling my fire, man. That's dangerous.
I was telling Ellen's cousin about like the kitchen with the carpet, and like he was just like I was like yeah, we couldn't let it go. He was like you still can't let it go because you're talking about it right now, and I'm like I know, dude. It's horrible.
Bad.
We almost started a crusade against grocery stores.
Yeah, I mean, and the only reason I didn't let Stampy go through with the complaint was because I already had the bomb. That was literally the only reason. Because I'm pretty sure Lauren would have loved just to watch the chaos of bureaucracy work its way through.
I know, right? I was like, I literally had something in my weekly notes of like, file a complaint with the local health inspection agency for carpeted kitchens. Like. That's not a thing I feel like I should have in my Dungeons & Dragons notes.
I don't think anybody's ever done that in Dungeons & Dragons, but it worked out pretty well.
I mean, you never know.
That's true. If any of you guys listening have filed a complaint with a bureaucratic party or, what would you guys call it, division in your D&D campaigns?
Health code violations, yeah.
Yeah, if any of you guys have done that, let us know because we would love to talk about it.
Yeah.
You're telling me there were never any health code violations reported in the Adventure Zone?
Maybe.
There might have been.
Well, now that we know our podcast is pro magic horses and anti carpeted kitchens, I think it's time to take a short break. Hey guys, welcome back to another middle of the episode. Dylan here. Slimes this week, one of my favorites. of all time. And I guess I should apologize. We got really off track. That's okay though. If you guys enjoy hearing us talk about our campaigns and would like to hear about it more, or if you'd like us to stop talking about our campaigns and just get back to the monster at hand, either way, let us know at morningswmonsters@gmail.com. As always, huge thank you to @MizenCake on Instagram for the amazing cover art. If you want to see more, check it out. And thank you guys for listening. Make sure you tell all your friends, all your nerdy friends and family about us. But that's all I got for you. Make sure check in every Friday at 8 a.m. I'll let you get back to the rest of your episode. Enjoy. See you next week. Bye. All right, we've rode our magical jelly horses back from our break.
That sounds cool.
To answer some prompt questions. Welcome back.
Is that what you Is that what you want? How you want to see them in the media? Jelly horses?
No, I just want one.
That would be super cool, though.
I have what I want to see them, but we'll save that for a few questions, I think. Slimes, are they overrated? Are they underrated? It's tough because it depends on what you're talking about.
If you're an adventurer, I think you're probably appropriately rating a slime.
Think so?
In my opinion.
Yeah.
Hopefully. And that's with hopeful eyes, but yeah.
I think they are severely underrated in D&D specifically because you're like, gelatinous cube, yeah, we're level 10. Who cares about that? And then you run into things like the ochre jelly and the black pudding, and you don't know what they do, and they mess you up, and they can be a really creative tool in a storytelling, from a storytelling sense, if you mess around with them enough.
I changed my answer. It's going to be appropriately rated as a low-level character, underrated as a high-level character.
Yeah,
I would have to agree with that. Yeah.
It like never really changes. They're always going to be like, you're never going to get better at fighting a slime because the slime's always going to like do the same thing that can't, like, unless you're magical and you like find like a magic one shot for a slime, like you're not going to get better at fighting slime. Like they're going to consume you.
Yep. And it's something that you're always going to have, you're going to have to like basically etch away at, Eben would have one trick if it's not on cooldown, and I'd have to throw a throwing axe to do it or risk losing my magical one. I'm not about to, Eben is, as a character, is not about to like grow through that. He knows exactly that he cannot fight these things no matter what, you know what I mean? But then at higher levels, like I would be inclined to sit back and let our magical people take advantage of that. But, like Dylan was saying, maybe it's something that's going to throw us for a loop and we're underestimating it because, well, I know not to fight these things, so I'm not going to add that in,
Yeah. And like some of the more like lesser known slimes, they have some crazy stuff they can do.
Yeah.
Definitely I think underrated in D&D and overrated in everything else. Just because they have their, it's one of those monsters that's used so much in many other things, and it's easy to make them super, super powerful and all over the place and infesting entire, at least from what I've seen. And that vein only goes so deep. I mean, without getting very, very creative. So
sure.
But people have. I mean, the time I was reincarnated slime, they took it to like the max. So
I do want to add for the like higher level being underrated in D&D. I think we forgot to mention that they're all immune to like charisma based skills.
Yeah.
And it makes your job a lot harder as a player to find creative ways to deal with this thing if you're going to, not risk losing a hand or a weapon or more.
Yeah, I think the cool thing, especially at low levels, is how creative you have to be with them.
Yep.
Because you really got to think, or you will quickly get swallowed up, and there's not much you can do.
Yep.
Run away. Run away.
Do you think people misunderstand the slime at all? I think
don't know.
there's one thing, and it's something I mentioned earlier that I found, is that there is a god of the oozes.
Yeah, I think that's
people-
the only thing really.
Yeah, it's fragments or offspring of the demon lord Jublex, Juiblex, the faceless lord, and it's one of the few beings that can control oozes and imbue them with a modicum of intelligence. So,
So like there are instances of like
intelligent slimes.
enlightened slimes. Is that what they call it?
Essentially, yeah.
That's cool.
But it says still that most of the time they have no sense of tactics or self-preservation. But I think that's probably the one thing that there is someone rooting for the slimes in the background.
Creating them even, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, I think
outside of that, I feel like, I mean, maybe like how they'd come to be on an individual level. Like I still struggle with, you know, how did this get here? Where did it come from?
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, it's magic mold. That's what my brain goes to.
That's kind of that's usually my explanation.
Yeah.
Some kind of just like a bunch of stuff happened, or a very huge change happened, and like because of that, this residue built up.
Yeah, exactly. Like a sewer was, you know, people were drinking magic potions and then using the sewer systems, and it messed with some stuff.
Sure.
Basically.
I kind of can picture, like, if this god of the oozes is putting a magical something, curse, whatever, on like a liquid or jelly type thing. And then essentially, like, as the liquid falls away, like, there's this slime or this gelatinous cube that is now not sentient, but like here to do this
Consumption.
consuming.
Well,
Yeah.
in the monster manual, which is where I found it, it kind of seems like they are pieces of this entity's being, because it literally says fragments or offspring. So there's probably some big jelly in the sky, right? That's like falling apart and making babies.
Ooh.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gross.
Yep.
So oozes are god snot.
Some like primordial ooze semen.
Right.
Yeah.
Ugh. Ugh. Why is that so gross?
Yeah, that's nasty.
You made it so much weirder.
Yeah, I mean, that's my goal here.
That's why we're here, everyone. Okay, I got one more prompt question for you guys. My favorite. How would you use them in media or gameplay? Anything creative you guys have thought while we've been talking about this? Obviously, the ooze horse is fan favorite.
I would love to see, like, your party and you're walking into a forest, and like all of a sudden you hear like giggles and like the soft tinkling of like dinner chiming, you know, like dinnerware clinking together. And the closer you get, like a soft warm light comes through the trees. You're enticed because, you know, it's nighttime, you're in a forest. Like who wouldn't be drawn to firelight? You get through this tree's edge and you see a clearing, and there is just a succulent dinner table laid out with plates piled high with desserts of all different shapes and sizes and colors. And like at the head of this table, on a tiny little chair floating in the air, is like a fae. And like as soon as it sees you guys come into the clearing, it bids you welcome and says sit down and offers you food from the table. Like I would love to see all of the food be like individual slimes, jellies, puddings.
Yeah.
You know, any unwitting character who swallows that pudding is going to be screwed.
Yep.
But maybe
like
through like some kind of fey bargain or some kind of like binding quest creator, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They can get help from it. But like I would love to see a really dastardly, cleverly laid trap that includes puddings that is just like masked by some sweet, succulent thing.
For some,
Things that look like pudding.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was
Jell-Os.
thinking, yeah, Jellos and like cream cakes that are just like basically piles of like whipped cream with fruit stuck in it and stuff.
I
Like
feel like I heard Jello is non-canonical in the D&D universe, but
like it doesn't exist.
yeah,
Oh,
but
that would be fun.
that might have been like campaign specific. I also don't think
I would create
they
that
make
shit.
that rules. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Um,
like blood pudding and stuff. I'd pull it all out. Like I'd find weird culinary things to mask my monsters.
for some reason, slimes are way more terrifying when you integrate Fae into them in any way. I don't know
I think
why.
so too. I feel like the moment that the party realizes what happens, like two things will like come into their head. Like I'm slowly getting consumed from the inside out by like a non-sentient consumer thing. And then the only way I can live through this is by helping or bargaining with the Fae. Like
making a deal or a pact or
those
an
things
oath.
on
Don't
an
wanna do
individual
those.
level are terrible, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
So
combine the two.
Really?
Ugh.
We're gonna eat anything you offer her.
I'm not. I promise I won't do that in our campaign.
know,
I
right?
know we're dealing with
That's
Fae,
the
but
problem
like,
with
it's not.
this. This
You
Yeah.
whole
won't our
podcast.
campaign because it would kill our campaign.
It would. I wouldn't underestimate our fucking characters that much, but like at the same time too, like I would never spark a scene from our campaign by talking about it on this
Right.
podcast. Yeah.
Listen, Melina, just don't fail your insight checks, okay?
Yeah.
I mean,
Maybe it's time for Graylin to get a familiar who checks all of Graylin's food.
There you go.
I'm just gonna have Kenzie do that.
Just
That's
kidnap.
why I carry her on my shoulder.
Listen, just kidnap a kobold and have him eat your food before you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh
Miles.
man, Melina,
much
you got anything?
Do I have anything? Yeah, I kind of want to. I think it'd be cool to see a slime just like roll over a hill onto an army.
Like a
Yeah.
big old slime?
A big old fucking slime, just like beanbag it across the countryside and take up just like armies. And it's like just because like I want some like goddess or god to like put it on the land and be like, I'm so fucking done of you bathing my lands in blood.
It just scoops them all up.
Yes.
Well,
Inside.
have them roll through the back lines where all the commanders are.
Yeah. Yep. That's
It
where
really
they
solved
need to
that
go.
problem.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like
You gotta
that.
start at the back. It's a circle into the middle.
Into the middle. You just get them all. Just get them all.
All of
He'll
them.
grow exponentially through the process as well.
Have the
Roll
god drop it right in the center, and it'll just.
Go fog over a hill,
Yep.
just demolishing everything.
Be like, oh, 100 years later, we don't go to the Battle of Slime Hill anymore.
Yeah, exactly. That would
We
be
don't go
so
there.
funny.
It's a very dangerous place.
Rumor has it, many oozes were left.
Don't get in a fight over here. There's a very spiteful goddess of slimes.
Did I hear you say you're going to Jelly Castle?
Jelly Castle. The whole castle is just painted jelly. That's scary and also a cool idea.
Yeah.
All right, so I got two, but the main one is I just want a race of sentient jelly humanoids in D&D,
Yeah.
like, or anything. Like I'm gonna
Yep.
make them now if no one else does.
Yep, do it.
Submit them to the wizards. I just think that would be so cool. They need some kind of culture, right? Cultivating small little baby slimes and oozes and puddings and like I don't think they need to be evil, but I think they need to have the option to be good and evil, you know?
Maybe like spark it with the religion
Yeah.
coming to be, like have a couple of the like touched jellies that have like some semblance of intelligence, like
Sure.
start,
They were
spawning
left
some.
they were left to their own devices for centuries and
Yeah.
now they have taken the shape of humanoids, and there's also the potential for some really cool names, I think, like very like cartoonish-esque, like, like Wiggles and stuff, like you know what I mean, just like weird,
Yeah, like,
funny
it's-
names with lots of O's.
I see like the naming generator being like either like some kind of onomatopoeia
Sure.
that you like, it's a sound, or like just a cluster of like weird bubbly sounding,
Yeah, just like very goofy,
like
bubbly.
Blogoth or something like
Yeah,
that.
some real weird stuff. Like I like that a lot, and giving them their whole own like unique culture. I think that would be really cool, and the cool like class features and things that are unique. Maybe they're really weak in some way, but they can like slide through a door. That would be
Yeah,
interesting.
it would be fun to try to put that in the balance of the game, because slimes and oozes, they do fit in to the
Sure.
balance, and like attaching them to like some kind of humanistic framework would be fun, because
I feel like you just give them a high AC or something and give them the ability to squeeze through small spaces, and then no other attribute increases because those two are
or
already very powerful.
give them like like mage's AC,
Mm,
but give them slashing and bludgeoning resistance, and then
yeah,
also let them do the amorphous trait,
yeah, something like that. And then the other one, which I'm not going to go too deep into because I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point, but like something that sparked this whole podcast, I think, was our discussion of mimics, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember the mimic kind of like society we were talking about, right?
Oh yeah.
And we're
I
kind
talk
of
about it all the time.
yeah, and we're talking about like a threat, that may encroach on the mimics. I think in this world that we're kind of discussing, which you guys don't get to hear about completely yet, but
No.
essentially having them as like their the opposite, like the one thing that they can't, neither of them can quite overcome the other, or maybe having them as their natural like competitor or predator.
I was actually gonna say, like, it would be awesome to see like spy sects of each,
Yeah,
and like incorporate that image of the ooze as like the mortar between bricks.
sure.
You know what I mean?
Between the bricks that are mimics.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It sounds so interesting, but what a boring storyline. The brick is a mimic, and the mortar between the bricks is a slime spy,
It's slime.
and there's nothing happening because it's a brick wall.
Yeah, and like they're just waiting for something to happen, but nothing happens.
Just like, yeah, exactly. Just an interesting tidbit, but
I do like that idea, because I feel like, without getting too deep into our mimic society, like that would be one of the only things missing from the lore of this.
yeah, because they can't go uncontested.
No, I don't want them to become like some kind of apex predator.
Yeah, because
You
they kind of can be, both of them.
They could be, absolutely, absolutely. Especially if we bring in culture with them. Intelligence is a bastard.
Yeah,
So,
it's a scary thing when you're talking about monsters sometimes.
yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Especially the ones who aren't really sentient to begin with, and you're gonna throw that shit in, and
Yeah, fully
it gets,
sentient slime creature is freaky.
Yep. Agreed.
Sentience doesn't mean a good sense of morality.
No, it does not. Absolutely does not.
All right, well, we'll finish this off with a special appearance from the special variant, the Psychic Gray Ooze.
Yes.
Yeah, so it can evolve to become more intelligent and develop limited psionic abilities.
Oh shit,
That's
sounds
scarier, isn't it?
terrifying.
But they live. It happens from them living near psionic creatures such as the Mind Flayer.
Love that.
Yeah. So that they can basically mimic the psionic abilities that they leech from other psionic-based cultures and stuff.
And is that like because they've absorbed so much, like, of people who can use
I
it,
would
or
assume so. I mean, because like the whole Mind Flayer thing is a weird sentience in itself. So maybe just like constantly absorbing, hive mind brains, things like that.
yeah, just elevates it up to like a midway.
Yep. So that's a
Because the only other kind that was like out of the ordinary was the dragon blood ooze.
Dragon Blood Ooze, another honorable mention.
Yeah, and I feel like those, I feel like those would be created in similar fashion. You know what I mean?
Like the slime that grows on the bottom of a dragon's hoard, or
exactly,
from the blood of its fallen victims or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, that's all I know about slimes. So
Yeah, I mean, as far as like a monster in D&D goes, this was not too deep of a dive, but fairly thorough, I feel like.
sure, yeah. I think we shine some light on different aspects people don't normally think of when they think of the ooze, slime, or pudding. And if
And
nothing
hopefully
else,
maybe
you may have learned that pudding is a monster in D&D.
yeah, and maybe we inspired some people to use them terribly and dangerously in their campaigns.
Yes, if you we're slowly becoming a great way to creatively TPK.
Yes, we love TPKs.
Need to know how to use a monster to kill your party? Here we
Come
are.
see us
Tune in.
at Mornings with Monsters.
Yes.
Find out on Mornings with Monsters.
Who would have thought a kobold would take out your entire level 10 party? Or an ooze.
Don't underestimate those bastards.
Nope. All right.
Overestimated in these DMs.
I think that's gonna do it for us today, y'all. We will see you next week on Mornings with Monsters. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.